honey, you look at this story, there's a million times around this story where we would have done something else.
Yeah.
Our whole move would have been different. She went to where the promise came from when it looked like the promise was breaking.
It's not like we're serving a God of the past, the God who used to be able to do and used to be able to do this, that, and the other. No, he can do it now. He is I am in the present, just like he was I am in the past.
So they make the journey to go see Elisha. And so, you know, me being who I am, I Googled it. Because in my mind, I'm thinking it's probably not down the street if she had to build a room for him, right?
It can't be.
It can't be that close if he needed somewhere to stay the night. And so, you know, clearly we don't know the journey and the route that she took. But from what I could see online, it's about 18 to 20 miles. And they're not in a car.
No.
You know, they're driving by a donkey. So this is a few hours that they're riding. They're trotting along. When she approaches Elisha, he's like, to Gehazi, isn't it that Shunamite woman? He says, go ask her, you know, it's all well with her family. It's all well with her. And he goes down and he asks her, and what does she say?
It is well.
It is well. So she gets to him. And it says that she falls at his feet and grabs him. Now, and Gehazi reaches to intercede and like, you can't be touching on him like that. You know how we do the adjectives now.
He been in my house.
Right.
Room built for him. Now stop.
You know how you trying to come, you know how people was when they were thronging towards Jesus and the disciples, we wanted everybody to go away. But when you have a need and you are seeking, you gonna have to bypass that sometimes.
Well, I mean, you think about it. She took note of him and his time of need. And then when her time of need came, he took note of her because he noticed her afar off.
Yes.
Before she got there,
yes,
he noticed her and was like, I think something's going on. Go see what's going on. Make sure she's all right.
Right. Why she coming up here?
It's not normal. It's out of the norm. And he took note of her in her time of need, just like she did for him, because God covers.
Now here is Elisha. What do we know about Elisha? This is Elisha who saw his mentor Elijah roll up to heaven in a chariot of fire. Okay. Who watched his mentor smack a river with his cloak, and then he came back and did it again himself. But God didn't tell him nothing about this woman. And so Gehazi goes to move her, and he's like, wait a minute, leave her there, because her spirit is vexed, but the Lord has not revealed this to me. And so here's someone who has, you know, the Lord, the Spirit of God is really working and moving through him, but even he can't see. Sometimes we make our leaders our God. Sometimes we have unreasonable expectations of them also.
Oftentimes we have unrealistic expectations of them, but just like you said, he didn't know what was going on. Sometimes we want the leader to know everything, and oh, he didn't call me, and I've been such and such.
God didn't
let him know. I mean, let him know, you know.
Exactly, because really, if you look at the story, she's the one running to Mount Carmel where Elisha was. He wasn't, the Lord didn't come to his mind and say, you need to go check on the Shunamite woman, so he go running towards her. No, God gave her what to do.
Right.
So you have to have a true connection and relationship with God as well, so that you will know what to do. Because you can, honey, you look at this story, there's a million times around this story where we would have done something else.
Yeah.
Our whole move would have been different. She went to where the promise came from when it looked like the promise was breaking. And not just that, but whenever what we think God has done looks a little shaken, we start to lose faith. And again, that would have prevented us from going to the source to get it worked out. I was talking in Sunday school to a woman, and she was saying, sometimes she feels like God did not answer her prayers. Like it didn't, she would pray about something and then something else would happen and it didn't turn out the way that she thought it would be. And she felt like he wasn't listening to her. That's what it probably felt like in this, right? Because it would have been very easy to say, God, I blessed your man. Right. I gave him a whole room.
I did what I was supposed to do.
I fed him faithfully, treated him like he was part of my family. But then my family back here in the room dead. You know, like we start looking at what's wrong with the situation.
We do the same thing. I've been faithful to church, Lord. I go every Sunday. I get this and do that and all of that, you know. Because sometimes we look at the people in the Bible and we, you know, be hard on them. But same. We do the exact same thing when trouble comes our way.
I've been praying.
Right.
What's interesting here, whereas we went through how we would go through the list, she hasn't said anything. But she gets all the way, hours later, to Elisha, and she finally speaks up. She still doesn't really tell Elisha what has happened. She said, didn't I say, please don't deceive me? And that's how he knows this is about that promise. And that's all she says to him. You know, she's at his feet and she has lowered herself. We have so much pride that we won't lower ourselves in what would look like a derogatory position. But
position of submission.
It's a position of submission. And she knew that this, again, she said in the beginning, this is a holy man of God. She knew who he was. And she knew that he was the one that delivered the message from the Lord, that she would have this son. And so she just, you know, get some clarity here. Now, we talked about this.
And you said it takes you back to the original when she was asked, what can I do for you? And she said nothing. You know, I'm good, don't worry about it. And then the matter of the heart was spoken to. Well, here you have her in another situation. God yet doing what he had already done before. So the faith was, I'm sure, built up a little bit more in that area. But another matter of the heart that she wasn't speaking to was being addressed. She didn't have to say, and she didn't have to put all the words to it, yet it was being addressed.
She didn't waste time talking to people who could not help her. As you can see in her next move. Because when Elisha realized that something was going on with her promise, he tells Gehazi, take my staff and lay it on the face of the child. He gives some good instructions.
It was good.
It was good instructions. Go do this for me. And sis didn't budge.
Nah, because that's not what I said.
We got to have enough in us sometimes to rise up and challenge people. Because she lowered herself in a position of submission, but she asserted herself.
Absolutely.
When it was time to assert herself. And so sometimes you're going to have to toggle back and forth between different places in order to get the job done.
Right.
And you don't have to be, and you never see in her where she was disrespectful or honoring about it.
Not at all.
She was just very clear in what she was and was not going to do. Seeing that she wasn't leaving. Elisha makes his way to her home. Now, we see later as they're journeying that Gehazi does get there before them. And he attempts to do, now you see somebody see the baby's dead. And
now they know a little bit.
Now
what's going on a little bit.
We got it. Oh, this is not good. And he attempts to do what he was instructed to do and gets no response. And what stands out to me when he gets there is he goes up into the room and he sees the child is dead and he shuts the door and he talks to God. Now, I don't know that anybody was praying anywhere else in the story. But we realize from what he said that God hadn't told him what was going on. We're not certain. When we're in unfamiliar territory, when things aren't turning out the way we thought they were, because I'm sure This is just Sylvia's speculation. It's not in the Bible. But I'm sure when he told her she would have a son, he wasn't worried about nothing happening to the child. You know?
Well, he told her, it's going to be next year. More about it.
And so sometimes we get shook. It's like, oh, wait a minute, Lord, you didn't tell me this. Wait a minute, God, I didn't know nothing about this. Because there's going to be a lot you don't know that's going to happen.
Absolutely, because we not God. So there are plenty of things that are working that are outside of us. But we have to trust the process and that God is working it out.
And so then who should you talk to about it?
God.
That's why you need prayer. Again, how long baby been dead? and
time now.
We have some situations in our life that we think are done. Like, this just is anyone else would tell you.
Just give up.
This isn't working.
The Lord got something better for you.
Right. It's time to let that go. It's time to move on. Talk to God. Your dead situation may not be as dead as you think it is. And even if it is dead, we're talking to the giver of life here.
Right.
So let's just go ahead and take it to him. After he prays, it says he goes and he lays on the child. And he puts his face to face with him, his mouth, his eyes, his nose. And it says he stretches himself out. And all of a sudden the child starts to warm up. He returns and he walks back and forth. And it seems like, like I'm visualizing this like, we done? What you doing? What you doing?
Right. What was that?
What was that? What is this? And sometimes the instructions God gives us makes zero sense. And sometimes he don't give you all of it at one time.
And that's like he had to continue.
And for us, and maybe this was a lesson for Elisha in obedience.
Yes.
Sometimes for us, we are asking God for an answer, and he gives you an answer, and we're wanting that result. And we don't have that whole result yet.
He give us a step.
A step at a time.
A step in the right direction.
And sometimes God is testing you to make sure that you're following him, that you're going to be obedient, that you are trusting him, that your faith is in him. And so don't get mad and quit.
Be built up.
Yes. And follow him the rest of the way. Elisha does one thing and one thing happens.
Step one.
And then it says he goes to and fro, and then he goes up and he stretches himself on him again, and the child sneezes 7 times. And then he opens his eyes. But when I looked at it and I was like, seemed like this happened before. And Elijah, when he was with the widow woman, we're going to flip back to 1 Kings. And he was staying with her and her son died.
Yep.
And I said, I knew I saw this before. And so imagine that, because Elisha followed Elijah faithfully, but he wasn't there at this time. This was before his time. But you know how you hear the testimonies of people and the miracles. In our day we hear about the canes lined up on the wall and the wheelchairs parked in the back, and we wondering, where is that God? And then you get to see it. Can you imagine how Elisha felt when he saw God perform the same miracle? And I realized, it's not in the Bible, but sometimes the Lord give you little juicy bits. When he went in and prayed to God, that's when they had that conversation. That's when he got the formula.
It had to be. But the thing is, he had his own opportunity. So even though what was great for Elijah and helped build him up to the type of person that Elisha wanted to look upon, well, look here. Now, when you position yourself, the same things that you've seen happen for them, same God.
Same God.
Do it for you, too. It's not like we're serving a God of the past. The God who used to be able to do and used to be able to do this, that, and the other. No, he can do it now. He is I am in the present, just like he was I am in the past. He is I am right now.
He's not I was.
I am.
I am. And so The child's awake.
Sneezed, he's up.
Sneezed and he's up. And he gives her back her son. And she takes him up and she goes out. And you realize, wow, God made 2 miracles in her life.
Right.
You gave her the child she couldn't have. And you showed her that you are in control of and Lord over even death. And so this woman who believed in you, we know now that she, in the beginning, she believed in God. She knew the man of God when she saw him.
Yeah.
How much more was her faith increased?
You went up a little bit more after that. Lord, you for real.
You for real, for real. I love that story because in each person, you can see how God blessed.
Yes.
And how he moved certain things so that he could make himself known. And I was thinking about it, you know, you're in Israel right now. They have gone away from God. They, you know, are at this point where God is getting kind of fed up with them. But you have this one woman who believes and honors the building of his kingdom. And it blesses her whole household.
It was not just about her. It was more than just her.
Yep.
Everybody was touched, influenced. And then the other people who get to hear about the story of the Shunammite woman's son. Even though she had to experience it, it wasn't about her.
Right. We need to be bold. We exist in a world now that a lot of us have gone away from God. We are worshiping our own things and doing our own way. And we need to stand firm and support the building of his kingdom and trust him in our lives to work and finish our process. And know that the same God that was raising dead back then is raising things now. And we can be like the Shunammite woman.